All right, everyone. We start off today talking about the election. Of course, it's less than a month away. It's fast approaching. I hope to be back in Vermont, of course, to cast my vote as well. I believe that Donald Trump is almost certain to win the election. When I look at the polling, when I look at the energy level, and when I look at the differential between Donald Trump's style of campaigning and Kamala Harris, like she tried to drink a beer the other day with Colbert. She failed at this venture. When I look at the cringe level of the Kamala Harris campaign, I can't seriously consider a situation in which she wins the election. It's almost like the election is basically Trump versus nobody, actually, at some times. It's sort of like Kamala Harris is almost like a placeholder when you think about it. Don't you get this sense yourself? She feels like and she literally is in some ways, feels like a placeholder. That is, she's not really a candidate. She's sort of like Junior Joe Biden, caretaker, and she sort of disappears into the background. Trump is at the forefront of everything. Donald Trump is basically all anyone ever talks about, whether it's critical or whether it's praiseworthy. He's what is in the news. Kamala Harris attempts to drink a beer. Kamala Harris attempts to buy Doritos. Kamala Harris attempts to appear like a normal human being and doesn't. That's the whole point. That's the problem. I see a candidate who is basically, it's a candidate waiting for a campaign, so to speak. That's basically Kamala Harris in a nutshell. It's almost like she doesn't exist at times. It's almost like she's not really running for office at all. That's why the legacy media has had to circle wagons so much, because obviously she can't do it herself. Ooh, hot, but very, very good. Not as good as Jam and Bean, jamandbean.com, by the way, but it's serviceable. Now, I'm on my third cup for a reason. If I'm not getting booze, I need a lot more caffeine. Just telling you. But Donald Trump, I think, has at this point about a 90% chance of winning, up from about 85% before the Butler rally, number one, and number two, because of Kamala's huge gaffe on Lebanon. When people domestically are hurting, in Nashville and areas surrounding, hundreds of thousands of people without power, without a home, etc., wandering around basically itinerant, and your first, notion is to talk about some country that most people can't even spot on a map, that doesn't go over so well. I think that Kamala Harris has really exhausted any capital that she had, and you're still, almost a month out from the election, so there's still enough time for her to make more mistakes. Watching her attempt to drink a beer and rambling about how she's a good marksman, with her Glock, which makes me ashamed to own a Glock, I suppose, at this point, because supposedly she has one. I doubt that that's actually true. There's a lot of cringe, a huge amount of cringe to go around. And it's making the rounds, of course, on the internet. And one thing that some politicians don't seem to have understood is that it's not 1990 anymore. Kamala's like, well, it's not the 1950s anymore. Oh, okay, we get that. I understand. It's also not the 1990s. This is not the .com era. This is not the era of brick phones, of flip phones and shit like that. This is the era of everything within 15 seconds, on demand, all the time, connected completely. This is the era of things moving lightning fast all of the time. Kamala Harris is running a campaign as though it was 30 years ago, effectively. She's running a campaign as though things are very slow, information transfers very slowly, nothing is mimetic, it's just slow. It's basically like, snail mail or something like that. I guess email is the new snail mail at this point, by the way. She is running a campaign as though she's Al Gore, effectively. But it's not translating very well now, is it? Donald Trump, meanwhile, despite the fact that he's much older, is running a campaign as though it's the modern era. That is, the social media era, 15-second news cycle, everything is lightning fast, everything moves constantly. He's embraced that. Much to the discredit of the rest of the Republican Party, there are only a few Republicans that have actually gotten the memo. Mostly the Democrats have. Kamala appears not to be one of them, though. So when I see her go on a talk show and attempt to drink a beer, I'm like, what the hell is even happening? Where is the actual campaign? This is why I think Trump wins. I can quantify Trump's campaign. I know what he stands for. I have seen him at rallies and so forth. With Kamala Harris, it's more like, okay, you're doing an end run around echo chamber talk shows and shit like that, podcasts and stuff, to try to enthuse your base. But, I mean, your base is already going to vote for you. What the hell are you even doing? It doesn't really make a lot of logistical sense. When I look at the polling, meanwhile, I see a stark difference between 2024 and the last couple of elections, 2020, 2016. In 2016, Trump was supposed to lose. Everyone was assured that he was going to lose. I said that he would win. And he indeed, in the end, in a squeaker, he managed to win. In 2020, I predicted he would win. He won, although he was denied the office because ballot printers go burr. And that's the long and short of it. That's the truth. And we all know it, and it's a conspiracy theory, but whatever, I don't give a fuck. Conspiracy theory being an improperly applied label to many things that are true recently. You may have seen this on a number of occasions over the last half decade. Trump, I believe, is running well ahead of where he was in 2016. He's about 2 points ahead of where he was against Hillary Clinton. He's also ahead in 4 of the 6 swing states. Arguably, possibly can pick off one of the blue wall states like Virginia, New Hampshire, etc. It's possible for him to do so. If I were Trump, I'd be focusing on the 4 states, the 4 swing states, Arizona, Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina, where I'm already mildly ahead. Hammer away at those, and then swing into Virginia for a week and just canvass the whole state and try to pick that off. I think that Donald Trump is probably going to win the election. I think that in the end, he'll ride ahead of where he's polling at, and that the rest is history, basically. I think that he'll win. I'll definitely be voting for him. There's no possibility of me voting for Kamala Harris. I don't vote for psychopaths that laugh at dead children. Let's put it that way. I think that it's okay to have grave humor. But the idea is, you're like, haha, here's a joke. What's the joke? Dead babies. Yeah, the funny part about it is that it's not funny. It's anti-humor. Kamala Harris doesn't seem to understand this. She genuinely finds it funny. I find that to be very disturbing. I don't want that to be my commander-in-chief. And some people say, well, you're just racist or sexist. No, I have no problem with an Indian female being president if she's not a fucking psychopath. If Tulsi Gabbard runs, that's perfectly fine. I would vote for her. She has good ideas. She sort of straddles that line. She's in the right age range, too, and would do a good job. But Kamala's not going to do a good job. Has she done a good job as vice president? As border czar? Yeah, she did a real great job as border czar. The border is totally secure. It's totally fine. Everything's hunky-dory. No, it's not hunky-dory. That's the problem. She's messed up. She's the one that's basically in command anyway. She has been for the last year. Joe Biden isn't making his own decisions. Everything that's gone wrong over at least the last year is Kamala Harris's fault more than Joe Biden's. He doesn't even change his own socks. You think that he can even choose what he eats at dinner? Yeah, bullshit. Jill makes sure to cater his menu according to his dietary needs. Well, darling, you have to eat this muffin. It's full of bran. It's full of fiber. You need to have your bowel movement before bed. We don't want another incident in the Oval Office. We don't need you stinking up the room. So eat the fucking bran muffin. Here's your protein shake, to keep you healthy, and then you can go and take a shit. That's about all. Peace out.